and we're on the 8th class of the series of Be Your Own Therapist and me leading these ones. Next week will be a new teacher for the series. And so because it's the last with me leading them, I thought we'd talk about dedication, how to dedicate, how to have a good ending to things, how to wrap up the day. Right at the beginning, class 1, I talked about motivation, and the dedication really mirrors that. So we're going to tie it up in a nice bow like that today. It's important to be able to dedicate, because if we forget, which I've got to admit I often do forget to dedicate, because we should be dedicating everything, everything that we put energy into, we should dedicate. So if we forget, what happens? The great experiences, they're just over too quickly, aren't they? They're over in a flash, and we forget to savor them. We spend so much time on our negative experiences, and then we forget to really savor the good ones. So also, often we can skim over important events and then later on look back and wish we had have given it more time, or said something, or marked the occasion in some way. And we kind of touched on this last week with how to develop and really bring forth the milestones in life and really honor them. Another reason why we need to be able to dedicate and end the day nicely is how many of us go to sleep worried? That's the worst frame of mind to go to sleep, isn't it? So instead of going to sleep worried, what we're going to do is how to figure out how to dedicate, how to double our merit, how to reinvest all of our energy and double it, make it grow, rather than lose hope or lose steam. And so what that is in a way creating what in self-help books is called a bright future. And it's how we bring the future result into reality now. Hello, Shayla, darling. I've gone off and done the whole thing. So what I'll do is...
I apologize. I didn't, your host didn't show up. So I will...
I've just made you co-host. I don't want to touch anything in case anything breaks, but there you are. And I claimed the host so I could have show the screen share. So anyway, I'm so thrilled you're here, Shayla. So with that, because we're going to be talking about the how to dedicate, or how to kind of gather up all the merits and the energy of the day and reinvest them. And the dedication always mirrors the motivation. So let's do a quick motivation now, so that we have the bookends. It's a bookends for everything, whether it's a class, whether it's a meditation, whether it's our day, and indeed whether it's our life. We need the bookends. We need a beginning and a middle and an end, and we need it to be good at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And so the way that we do it is by bringing our attention to it. And the best way to do that is to frame it with words, because that kind of brings it all the potential into reality when we put it into words. So let's put it into words with our motivation. What is the purpose of being alive today? It must be something more important than drinking coffee. Today, I'll develop bodhicitta, leading to the peaceful path of liberation and full awakening for the benefit of all beings. From this moment on, until I go to sleep, I shall stay aware of every action of my body, speech, and mind. Wherever possible, I shall try to help, and at the very least, I will not harm. It's such a nice... So because we're on how to dedicate, part of it is looking back on our day. How actually do we look back on our day? So one is, in a way, we're doing some divine accounting. And so in the olden days, before they had ledgers, they had nice little coloured pebbles and things. That's one way that we can do it. And so we're figuring out what was beneficial, what didn't go so well. what was good, but what was bad. And in a nutshell, congratulate yourself on the positive, decide on one thing that you could do better with the negative. So with these two little piles of stones here, I think it was Shanti Deva that you know, at the end of each day, he'd get his piles of stones and he'd put down all the good things that he did, things that went well, good things that happened. That's the white pile. All the things that didn't go well, responses that weren't so good, things that went pear-shaped, negative reactions, all of our reactivity, that's the black pile. And the end of each day, we look at that pile and we go, OMG. It's going to pretty much be imbalanced. Maybe if we're lucky, it's going to be 50-50. And it's going to change over time, like the cycles of the moon. It's going to ebb and flow. But this is just a day-by-day reckoning. And so it's important that whatever the positive things are, we actually congratulate ourselves. So Shanti Deva, I think it's Shanti Deva, I hope I haven't stuffed the quote up. You know, if there was more white stones in the pile, shake his hand. Well done, excellent, sir. If things went badly, like he didn't bash himself up, it was just like slap on the wrist on that hand, and what can we do better? So purify and what can we do better? So for the pile of white stones, the congratulations, we can't rush through that or minimize the good things, especially our efforts, our virtue, our good-heartedness, our qualities, patience, tolerance, seeking to help, all of those things. Even if it was just a very insignificant thing that it wouldn't make the news, for instance, but you let someone go first onto the bus, or you smiled at the checkout person. Or we have this funny tradition in Brisbane where when you get off the bus, everyone waves at the bus driver and says, thank you. It doesn't happen in any other city. So I just was recently in Sydney. And so, you know, I got off the bus and it's like, thank you. And everybody just whipped around and went, what? Like unheard of. But it's a thing that, you know, everybody does it. And it's actually really nice to do. When I first got here, I thought it was bizarre. So something like that, it's never going to make the news. If you live in Brisbane, it's a thing. You know, it's a thing. And it's like the public transport lineage gets passed down from parent to child. So you've got to recognize those things and actually don't rush through it or minimize it, but actually spend a moment to think, well, it takes effort and presence of mind to do these things. Recognize that you put in the effort and the presence of mind. It's so much easier to be negative, and here you have been being positive. So sit with it for a second. And if we do this, it makes it stronger. Just bringing our attention to it makes it stronger. So there's no need for us to bring our attention to all the negative things. We are actually biologically hardwired to do that, to automatically see everything that's wrong with everything, because that keeps us safe. Doesn't keep us happy, but it keeps us safe. So we have to put effort into acknowledging the good. That will not come automatically. We've got to put the effort in and make it a habit. We have to develop that habit. So Danny said, oh, yes, do the bus drivers thank us? Yes, so, oh, no, sorry, she says, I do the bus driver thank you. Not sure why, but it feels good. Yes, it does feel good. And, you know, all of these, the checkout chicks, the bus drivers, everyone that's there on the front lines, they've copped it over COVID the last 2.5 years, haven't they copped abuse? So now it's even more significant to do something like that. So we ourselves, we have to congratulate the positive, wave at ourselves at the end of the day and go, well done. And then the pile of the black stones. So of course, we're samsaric beings, we're going to make mistakes. If we make a mistake, it doesn't mean we are a mistake. If we make a mistake, it doesn't mean we're bad. If we stuff up, it doesn't mean we're a loser or we're bad. It just means we've stuffed up. But if you've often got in trouble, especially as a kid, for making mistakes, or you've been punished for making mistakes or humiliated for making mistakes, it can be really hard to be upfront about it because of all the emotional baggage that comes along. And we don't even know we're carrying that emotional baggage. So many people have been beaten for getting things wrong, for stuffing up, for making mistakes, instead of encouraged, trained, shown how to do things. And then, if you don't have the presence of mind and you stuff up again, then you're beaten again. So then instead of figuring out how to do it better, we just try and hide everything. No, I didn't do it. I never did anything wrong. So no, forget about all of that. Look, no one else is going to punish you except you. So look at it and go, okay, what's stuffed up? And instead of feeling guilty, use that remorse, use that feeling of regret to propel you to change. Don't try to get rid of that feeling. It's a bad feeling. The 8 worldly concerns will make you want to get rid of that feeling. That feeling is necessary to change. Feeling bad about having done something wrong is the impetus to make us want to change. If we don't feel bad about it, we're not going to change. So we've got to kind of open up to hold that bad feeling of remorse, and then use it to think, what's one thing I can do better? Not how can I fix the world or anything like that. It's too overwhelming. But mistakes come from doing things wrong. It's a mistake. It's not that you're wrong. Mistakes come from having a distorted view of the world, from being mistaken, and that can be remedied. We can bring things more in line with reality, and that always makes us feel better. So one good thing that we can do, or one thing that we can do better, and this has been used really effectively in sports psychology, of the 1% development. Instead of trying to just fix everything or get better people on the team, it's just everybody who's on the team, whatever skill level you're at, pick one thing and just do it 1% better. It's so effective. And if you do that every day, man, at the end of the year, so there was some really famous sports coach, psychologist that took this losing team and just took this approach little bit by little bit, just 1% better each day. 1% better how you put your shoes on, how you tie the laces, 1% better with your posture, 1% better with your diet, all of this. And he actually took the team to win. They were like the bottom of the pile. And this is what we do with the Lamb Rim. It's a graduated path to enlightenment, bit by bit. So at the end of each day, we can't solve the problems of the world in one day. So what's one thing that we can do differently? Here we go. What does Alicia say? So there's a great Brené Brown podcast about atomic habits that talks about the importance of consistency over intensity. Yes. Yeah, so that's right, because otherwise we go up and down. We're full of remorse, we get guilty, we crash, we don't want to know about it. Or we get really elated about something and then our bubble bursts. But this, just bit by bit over time, natural confidence will grow. And it's also doable without all the other emotional baggage that comes on to go, you've got to be perfect, you've got to, achieve all of that kind of stuff. So that's the first thing, divine accounting. This is what we should do at the end of each day, and do it as you go to bed. It's good to even do it like when you're in bed. If you have a formal meditation practice at night, you can do it and then do the Vajrasattva for purification. But even if you don't have a formal meditation practice at all, as you're getting ready for bed, still sit up in bed before you actually lie down, and just a minute, just go through the day, the good things, the bad things, rejoice at the good, one thing you can do better at the bad. That's it for the divine accounting. And then, and we'll come back to this later on in the class, when when you actually lay your head down on the pillow, when you're going to sleep, instead of worrying or going over the events of the day like that, backtracking, imagine who you want to be and how you want things to be as you go to sleep. So imagine the kind of person that you'd like to be, the kind of qualities you'd like to have, the kind of environment you'd like to create. Imagine that as you go to sleep. So that's a secular way of doing it. If you're a Buddhist, you'd actually imagine, you're going to sleep in the clear light, in the Dharmakaya, or putting your head in Buddha's lap. Or if you've had an initiation, you're going to sleep as the deity in the deity's mandala. You're not going unconscious, you're dissolving into the clear light. So there's, even on the very secular, non-religious level of just going to sleep and imagining the bright future. That's how to go to sleep, not stressing about the worries. Now, the other part of it is, how do we actually rate our day? We've got the black pebbles and the white pebbles. So what I wanted to ask you all was, like, how was your day? How would you rate it? What are the things that you rate? What kind of day have you had? Let's say Shayla.
My day has been hectic, but it's been rewarding. I accomplished a lot today.
So hectic, rewarding, you accomplished a lot. So there's quite a few different rating scales right there, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah. Who else? How would you rate your day? Danny, yeah.
I didn't accomplish much of anything, and I hardly ever do, but it was good. It was good, except for I did yell at my kitty. She's in heat, and she didn't give me a lot of sleep last night, and I was a little bit mean to her, but I got over it quickly, and I apologized to her. So even when you're alone and you don't have to do anything, you can still get upset.
Yeah. So if you're going to rate it, if you're going to give it out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
I give it 5 because I'm alive, she's alive, and yeah.
That's right. That's the baseline. We still have our precious human rebirth. Who else would like to say how you'd rate your day? Anybody else? No, you can always put in the chat if you like. So this is how we can differentiate how we rate our day. Because, often when people come in, you go, oh, how was your day? And they go, oh, it was terrible. That's or, oh, it was really good. Now, normally, the default for that is, if you've had a pleasant day, if things have gone your way and everyone's been nice, you say it was a good day. But I've had a great day. Why? Oh, I was taken out to lunch, and it was my birthday. I got all these presents. I got to sleep in. Whatever it is. If we go, oh, how was your day? Oh, it's been a terrible day, or slightly ameliorated, like Shayla. It's been hectic. So normally, oh, this went wrong, that went wrong, and we think it's terrible. But that's like the default rating scale, isn't it? And it's very much dominated by the 8 worldly concerns, which I think we looked at a little bit last week. So instead, we can have a different rating scale. So of course, the default is, if it was pleasant or unpleasant, that's usually how we rate it. But I'm so happy to hear how you guys have actually got a different rating scale. So one is like the amount of effort that you put in. So Shayla, you said, like, it was really hectic, but you got a lot accomplished. So right there, now you're not rating whether it was pleasant or unpleasant. You're rating the effort, the meaning, the importance. And that already is much more sustainable, isn't it? As our feelings go up and down, rating something far less fickle than just feelings makes it from day to day much more sustainable. And then, so Danny, you just saying, well, we're still alive. Things went wrong and you apologize. So it's like a clean, you know, that too, it's a whole different scale from just pleasant or unpleasant. And we often forget that, don't we? At least, even if everything's gone wrong, the fact that we still wake up in this precious human life, wow, that means everything is possible, and it's amazing. You know, that's just, but we underestimate it because we forget to look at it. And the only people that really look at something like that is like, you know, if you've been in prison and you get out of prison and you get out of those gates, and just being in the air and seeing the sky is just like, wow. You don't need anything else, just the sunshine, the birdies, the air, just being on that side of the door of the gate is superb. And this is where we are. We're right here with all of this at our fingertips, but we just forget. So we've got how we rate our day. How many stars? And actually, so normally we rate the pleasant or the unpleasant. So it's a challenge, it's overwhelming. What we really should be rating is what's our kindness rating for today? What's our enthusiastic perseverance rating for today? How successful were we at just non-retaliation? So that's not even accomplishing anything. That's just not saying the bad thing, not hanging up the phone at someone, not being reactive. So people don't even notice that. We don't even notice that. But if you're going to rate it, the amount of effort that you put in, this is what they say with school kids too, isn't it? It's the, it's not if they're good at something or not, if they're brilliant or naturally talented, you reward the effort. And us too, we've got to reward the effort. So you can say, oh, I've had a hectic day, I'm exhausted, everything went wrong, I'm giving it 5 stars for sheer effort and not losing your bodhicitta motivation. So that's one thing. Looking back, it might take a moment. So we do the divine accounting, and then we actually figure out what's the rating scale that we're using. Is it the 8 worldly concerns, or is it something far more profound? And it only takes a second to do this, to look it over. And already we now have equanimity in our mind. We've got some form of equilibrium, and it's a bigger picture. So all of that, of course, guards us from losing hope and burning out. This is how we get the bigger picture. And so then the next part is the aspirational prayer. So out of the 5 powers for life, as you know, the beginning that was setting the motivation, and at the end, aspirational prayer. So this is a way of refocusing. It mirrors our morning motivation. So here's the bookends of our day. Good at the beginning, good in the middle, good at the end. So our aspirational prayers remind us of our initial motivation, and it means we don't get stuck in the details, which is, you know, when we lose our focus, we kind of collapse in onto the details. We get a bit tunnel vision. We start grasping at inherence. We start grasping at the what, all the details, rather than the why. So this brings it back out again to mirroring the morning motivation, and we're looking forward to the positive results that your activities will bring. So it's important to have this good feeling, because if we go to sleep stressed, we're not going to make it. So this is how we have this good feeling of acknowledging all of the efforts and rejoicing in your efforts, rejoicing in your virtue, and feeling gratitude for the good things that happened. So they're 2 things, and then putting it all together to what's it for. So dedicating it to something. So all the effort that we put in even if we've had a hectic day and we're exhausted at the end, we've got to remember, well, why is it? So it's virtuous activity if we set our motivation, and there can only be one result for that, which is happiness, which is proper, deep success, liberating ourselves from suffering and all of its causes and bringing everyone along with us. So acknowledging your positive efforts makes them grow. And it also means that we're still lighthearted, we're still happy about it. So it's a little bit like when we're looking forward to the positive results of the day. It's like if you've ever learnt to play a musical instrument. Has anyone here taken up a musical instrument? So, you know, over the years, I've played various instruments. As a child, I played cello and harpsichord. And then much later on, I thought I'd take up the accordion, but because I love accordion, gypsy music. But I totally failed at it. And you know why? Because I just focused on how hard it was instead of focusing on how I wanted it to sound. So, of course, if you focus on how difficult it is, you just very quickly, it's up on the shelf. Here's my accordion up there on the shelf. It's away. So, and why? Because I didn't listen to the tunes how you want them to sound. I forgot to look forward to it. So it's the looking forward to, I can't wait till it sounds like that. That's what gets us through all the practice. And I forgot. So I didn't practice, and now it's gathering dust. So we've got to look forward to, all of this effort, it's going to result in something. And what is that something? It's going to be where people are peaceful and kind. It's going to be where we can really, develop our Dharma practice, develop all of our qualities, fulfill the wishes of our gurus, all of these things. So then you start feeling, oh, yeah. So the only way we can do that is if we have the courage for a vast vision. We've got to have courage, isn't it? We've got to be able to imagine it. And how many of us do that? I mean, failure of courage comes because we can't even dare to imagine it. And often because we just think, well, that's just going to be a disappointment because it's not possible. So I don't want to imagine it. And this is where it really needs to be underpinned with our wisdom and our Dharma studies to know it is possible. Why? Because we have Buddha nature, we have Buddha potential. This is our natural potential. So of course it's possible. So of course it's okay to daydream about it, because how else are we going to bring it into reality? So it's not just a fantasy. It's underpinned with a profound understanding of the nature of our mind and our existence. That's what underpins it, and that's what gives us courage to imagine the bright future, which is quite different from the normal self-help kind of groups where you just imagine a future, but it's kind of like little me here imagining a great big future there. There's a big discrepancy, and it's quite it is just an imagination. It's like, it's wishful thinking, because it's not underpinned with an understanding, and it's not underpinned with the actions to bring it about. Cause and effect. So mirrors our morning motivation. What are we here for? What's the purpose of our life? How are we going to do it little bit by little bit? Looking forward to the results. And then the other part is the prayer. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, prayer is the bridge between cause and result. Isn't that lovely? Our prayers, our aspirations, our prayers are the bridge between cause and result. They're what brings it from the land of possibility into actuality. How? By saying it, by putting it into words, which is framing it. It's like we paint our reality with our words. Have the courage for a vast vision, and you can achieve everything in between. So if our vast vision is, I'm going to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings and bring them to the peerless state of enlightenment, that's like the catch-all for life, the universe, and everything, isn't it? Everything else comes along with it, including helping your neighbors, family harmony, getting enough money to be able to sponsor Dharma projects. All of that stuff comes in between. But if all we look at is just those few little things and we forget the big, vast vision, we're going to really quickly burn out too. So the prayer, it's not just wishful thinking. It really brings things into reality just by framing them, really. And it's like existing in mere name. This is actually how things exist in mere name. There's a power to this. So how we say it, how we frame it, that determines our reality. And it helps us. It helps us bring the potential into reality. Otherwise, it's just all there as this kind of vague hope feeling that, comes and goes, depending on our sugar and caffeine level. Not very stable, hey? So how do we pray? How do we actually do that? There's a question for you. So when you do your aspirational prayers, what happens? What do you do? I mean, we sometimes have them at puja, don't we? We do dedications. They're sometimes we say them out loud. It can be quite confronting because suddenly it's public speaking. Oh my God. And not just in front of everyone at puja, but in front of Buddha. But what else? So how do we do our prayers? How do we say our aspirational prayers? What do you do? Who's got one? Danny,
Well,
yeah.
After setting that motivation to the bodhicitta and taking refuge in the three jewels, then I pray basically as a Christian would pray, except it's to whatever deity, like my favorite Mahakala over here, or Medicine Buddha, depending on the circumstance. I talk to them but not out loud. I don't do it out loud usually. But I do it intensely. It's intense.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like it's that internal conversation, and that's really effective, isn't it? Because it's actually very realistic. Because at the moment we feel different, separated from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, don't we? So that's where we start. We start with a conversation with them, and that helps us connect to that enlightened energy. The wonderful thing about that is, where is this conversation taking place? In our mind. Where's the Buddha? It's all in our mind, right? It's all right there. But we have to go through the motions to bring it into reality, to reconnect, because we're so disassociated. So yes, it's really wonderful. And Danny, it's then understanding the workings behind it just makes it more strong. Like understanding that all of this is taking place in our own mind. That's the wisdom side that then makes it strong. And then we have even better, stronger conversations. So yeah, it's a cry from the heart too. And when we pray, when our prayers are really effective, it's when we're completely honest and we're really clear. It's a clear reality. So, from my own experience, many times my prayers are pretty, yada, yada, yada. You say the words, but at least there's the prayer there and the words are there and they're right. Even if the feeling isn't, it comes and goes. But there has been occasional times in my life where there's been a disaster happening, for instance, and I have prayed to Tara, and Tara has helped me. And so I've looked at those times and I've tried to thought, what's so different here? And what's different is it is the real cry from the heart. Like, it is honest and it's bare and raw, but it's also it's almost like a fierce kind of prayer. I've also prayed to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, like, now is the time for you to help us. You know, you made this promise to help all sentient beings. Now's the time. You've got to help us. So it's like asking and begging, but it's also having this fierceness that, you know, I need help. And why? Because it's in this context of the reality. And so in a way, it's like an unobstructed radio signal. You know, the signal from us now becomes clear. And usually what clarifies it, what takes the dust and the cobwebs out of our mind, gets rid of the 8 worldly concerns, is a disaster where suddenly we go, the lives of others are at stake here. So it's really clear. And so many people, you know, you hear stories about this, you know, not just Buddhists, but Christians and, you know, all sorts of people. In a disaster, they'll pray, like in an earthquake, they'll pray to the Virgin Mary and they are saved. So, you know, it happens. It's the Buddhas are all here. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are all here. It's us that's disconnected. So a really pure prayer connects us back. It clears our barriers. So I think I've got time to tell you a little story. You know, so I have in previous times told the story of when Tara got me a taxi, but this story is when Tara got me a plane. It was just really recently. And so just in our mid-year break, on the spur of the moment, in the midst of COVID and climate change, I decided to take a week and go and see my aged and quite frail in health father down in Victoria. And so I was going by train, plane, automobile, the whole works, and spur of the moment, middle of the school holidays, arrived in Sydney on the wettest day in 100 years. The rain was pouring down. There was floods everywhere. There was a train strike. No suburban trains, which meant all the buses were full, which meant traffic gridlock, which meant I was just walking through the rain with my suitcase, and managed to do it all. And then I was going to take a train to Melbourne. And 20 minutes before the train was due to leave, so 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday night in the middle of school holidays, the train is cancelled because the train track has been washed away. It's not there anymore. You know, the water's over the bridge. There's no way to get through. No replacement service for buses, for instance, because the road is gone. And it's a Saturday night, and I'm due in Melbourne on Sunday morning to be picked up by my folks for a Sunday dinner with the whole family, which has been torn apart by COVID. Vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, who can come into the house, who can't, everybody crying, everyone screaming at each other, you know, grown-up children, grandchildren, the whole thing completely destroyed. This family is just, and now I'm coming down and they're all getting together and we're going to have family lunch on Sunday. And I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen? Tara, you have to help me. So while I'm in the line to get my refund for the train, you know, I have a phone. I'm on my phone, and I'm going online to try and find a plane down there, an aeroplane, and there's no planes until Tuesday because it's school holidays, and all the baggage handlers are off sick. So there's no planes on Virgin. There's no planes on Jetstar. I go on to Qantas, and there's still a flight at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, and it's like, okay, that's the one. So I push the button and it says choose seats, and then the map of the whole aeroplane with all the seats comes up, and there's one seat. and I'm like, thank you, Tara. So I pushed the button. I've chosen the seat. Yes, I'm in. It's something like $800. I'm like, okay, well, that's the price to pay. You know, that's what credit cards are for. So here's my offering to Tara, to the family, to the world, to ka-ching. I offer you $800. Got the plane ticket, then managed to book a hotel, got to the queue, got my refund of the thing, and as it was, then I arrived in Melbourne an hour earlier and was picked up for Sunday dinner. So that was just a simple prayer to Tara. Tara, you have to help because this matters, this family, like it's not just about me. And of course, then it goes to the $800. Then you go, whoa, oh, that's a bit, but if it was the worldly concerns, I'd go, oh no, it's not worth it. But thank goodness I was already in a delirious state that I wasn't overwhelmed by the worldly concerns. Like this, that's the price of doing business in samsara. So Tara helps. When you ask her, Tara helps. So who is Tara? Tara is the Dharmakaya nature of your own mind. And it's how to cut through all of the karmic stuff, all of the emotional baggage, all of the internal saboteurs, cut right through to the truth. And how do we do that? Through prayer. And so then, because, you know, in that instance, everything had become clear to me, then the way through becomes clear. There's always a way through, always a way through. Anyway, sorry, bit of a rave.
That is an incredible story. That's just crazy.
It was, I mean, there was even more. It was like, you know, so then I tried to book a hotel in the middle of school holidays on a Saturday night in the midst of a tornado, and there's no hotels. But luckily, so then I found one and I just showed up. Luckily, I did, because my credit card had been frozen because the bank thought, oh, unusual activity, so they just frozen it. Well, good on the bank, thank you very much. So I got to the hotel and it's like, oh, credit card's not working, but I know I've got a stray $100 bill somewhere in my suitcase. So I opened my suitcase up in the lobby, stuff everywhere, found the magic place I'd hidden the hundreds, handed over the cash, which was, you know, and then rang up the bank and they unfroze my credit card. I mean, just like all of this stuff happened and then it unhappened, and then I had a nice shower. I mean, you know, it was just amazing. Anyway, so that's one thing, aspirational prayer. But, you know, prayers, they even work even if we're not aware of them, because, you know, our wonderful gurus, they pray for us all the time. They right now are praying for our welfare, for everything to go well for us to be able to have success in our Dharma studies and overcome our problems and be able to help others. They're already on our side praying for us. So just like when someone's hating on us, we can feel it. You know, we're having an argument with someone and then we don't see them for a few days and we can hear them yelling at us across the ether. We know they're hating on us. But do we know that on the other side of things, all of our precious gurus are praying for us all the time? All of their prayers are for each and every sentient being, including every single one of us. We're there already. We're held, enveloped by them. And that has an effect on us too, you know. So we just got to kind of open up to that, and all the help is there. Okay, so that's our aspirational prayer. We've got to have the courage for a vast vision. So whatever our visions are, we can include that in. So we can include the kind of person that we want to be, the skills that we want to develop, how we want to help others, our job, our family, all of those things, but we've got to make it bigger than that. So we've got to have the why. So that why, the because, all of these things, because I must become enlightened, free of samsara and enlightened, to develop all of my qualities to be able to help every single sentient being. So we've got to have that vast vision. That has to be encompass everything. Otherwise, we're going to just kind of condense in and burn out. So if we want to change our present, we have to imagine our future. That's one of those universal truths. And so there are ways that we can do this also to internalize positive experiences, to really bring our focus to it so that we don't rush over it. And so what we have to do is turn the positive facts, so the things that have happened, the things that we've done, into an experience, a positive experience. And so that means recognizing when good things happen to you. That's the gratitude part. Recognizing your efforts and rejoicing in that. That's the rejoicing in virtue part. Honoring and acknowledging milestones and making milestones like we talked about last week, you know, of completing a Discovering Buddhism unit. Make a big deal of it. Buy a bunch of flowers, offer to Buddha, put it in the middle of your home so it brightens up your home. Make these milestones, develop a ritual around it so that you bring it, you turn it into an experience. So for quite a while before I was here at Langri Tampa Centre, whenever there was an important event, I would make a new outfit to honour the event. So usually it was whenever some incredible musician or there was an incredible concert, I'd make a whole new outfit for that. It was like my offering to the music. And so now I don't really have time to do that. So now whenever there's a special event, I just buy a dressing gown. So, you know, they're all associated with special events, with eras, with activities, things that have happened. So that's kind of my way of creating a story. We have to create our own story. And you might do similar things too. Often people, you know, buy champagne and chocolate or whatever. But we can be more skillful about it. Because to savor an experience, we've got to use all of our senses. So we have to have a pleasant physical sensation. We've got to have, you know, nice sounds, something nice to a vision to associate it with. So I've got a nice soft dressing gown. You have something nice to look at, a nice environment, and it helps you contain that experience. So instead of being traumatized and re-triggered by events and places and things that bring back all the terrible things that happened, now we've seeded our life with every time we look at that or we see that or we hear that song, we remember the effort we put in. We remember the kindness of others. We remember our own virtue. So we're kind of using this to help us. So using all of your senses and having a reward of an emotional experience too by sitting with it and not rushing over it. So one way that, just before I do that. So take your time. Take your time over savoring an experience and use all your senses to do so. And at the very least, spend 5 to 10 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 10 seconds takes time. Every time that you manage to not retaliate or every time that you show a kindness to others, spend 5 or 10 seconds acknowledging that, bringing your attention to it, seeing it for what it is. Take your time, and that way they get stronger. And rejoicing. So rejoicing in your own virtues, the effort you put in, your own merits. So it's not rejoicing in the good things that happen to you. That's the gratitude. Rejoicing is in your virtue. So that's your activities. So when you rejoice, it doubles your merit. And actually, it's more so. There's a wonderful formula. Lama Zopa Rinpoche is just so into this formula. He spent a long time in Bendigo telling us about it. So when you rejoice in your own merits, it doubles your merits. It doubles it. It's like the best investment that you can have, better than the stock market, anything, you know, the interest rate on this, it's double. When you rejoice in the virtues of others, like here, I'm rejoicing that you're all here in class, you know, and so So when you rejoice in the virtues of our other samsaric beings, you accumulate the same amount of merit as them. So I rejoice in you being at class, you rejoice in me being at class. We accumulate the same merit as each other, as our equals, doubles, you know. If we rejoice in the merit of those who have less realizations than us, so for instance, when our pets show kindness, or I've seen a mother cat look after her kittens and not eat the food and let her kittens eat the food, and she was starving. Like, it just broke my heart. I just marvel at it. So if you marvel at the kindness of those with less realizations than you, a cat, you get double their merit. It just enhances it, right? If you rejoice at the merits of those with more realizations than you, like for instance the bodhisattvas, if you think of the incredible activities of the bodhisattvas, you get half their merit. Half the merit of a bodhisattva. And if you rejoice at the merits of the Buddhas, of the fully enlightened beings, you know, that's almost inconceivable what they do. But if you just spend 1 second going, wow, you get 1/10 of that merit. So, I mean, this is what Lama Zopa Rinpoche says. We've got to spend time rejoicing, which is, you know, marveling at the virtue. Because what an investment. Like, he just thinks we're insane not to purify, and we're insane not to rejoice, because this is the easiest way to refill our tank, to restock, to double our merits. And not only that, it's so fun. Like, it's inherently enjoyable. It's not awful at all. It will actually make you feel better. So, you know, if we acknowledge our positive efforts, not in like, oh God, that was so hard, but like, wow, how amazing, how amazing. They'll naturally grow. So instead of like dwelling on, oh, the day was so hard, these are all the things that went wrong, and so we're focusing on all of our limitations. What are we doing there? We're just making our limitations stronger, clearer, identifying more with the limitations. You know, we don't want to do that. We want to do the other thing. So not focusing on those difficulties and like, that's me and I'll never get there, you know. It's actually focusing on the goal and rejoicing. So if we can do this at the end of each day, this is the number one way. We'll never burn out. We'll never lose hope. We won't lose our patience or our tolerance. All of those things will naturally come. So, savor the experience. Imagine when really nice things happen, especially when people show kindness to us. Imagine it as actually not just, oh, that was nice of them, but as a physical sensation, like light, golden light flowing through you, and feel it. Feel that kindness within your own body. Stay with the rewards of the emotional experience. So that's something worth dwelling on. And one way that we can dedicate, which we're almost about to do, is imagine the experience absorbing into you. So that means actually absorbing into you. And there's a couple of ways that we can do it, which are really, really nice. So, one, jewels filling your heart. So each good deed that you've done in the day, imagine it as a beautiful, precious jewel, and feel it plop into your heart. You know, so if you had a bunch of diamonds and sapphires and rubies and you just went plop, 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 you can hear them, you know, when they clack down into your incredible treasure chest. and you can feel the weight of them, and they're just luminous and sparkling. So there you go. How many jewels today? How many acts of kindness? How many times did you not retaliate? So non-harm, non-attachment, you know, and you and personify them like as jewels, sparkling light. The light can remind you that they're not inherently existent. They're in nature empty, but they're so beautiful. Plop, plop, plop into your heart. So what's that? Your heart, this beautiful treasure chest. All those jewels, they're just going to increase in value. They're there. Those virtues are there for you to take out and use. Just like I could take out my credit card and use it, because that's what credit cards are for. So all of our virtues, all of that, all of those good qualities, we take them out and we use them. We have a store of them right there in our treasure chest of our heart. If that doesn't do it for you, you can have it as a rainfall of light. So the rainfall of light, that's so nice, isn't it? Especially if you live in a dry environment, or if there's terrible fires happening, you know, over in the west coast of America at the moment. So just imagine if there was a rainfall of nectar that just extinguished those fires, like the bliss. When you're thirsty and you have a cool drink of water, a rainfall of light kind of illuminating your mind, settling into you, absorbing into you, and how it just, you know, from the parched earth, it just relaxes and becomes soft. So it's so nice when we imagine that, isn't it? So that one can be really nice too. If you're not a tactile like that, then there's another one that you can do, which is music, harmonizing your body and mind. So imagine all of those virtues and everything that you've said and all of your activities. It's like the harmony of the spheres. Everything that you've done today, everything that you've said, it's the song. It's the song of your virtue. And it's created this beautiful tune of the day. And it's melodious in all of its rarity. It might be quite out there. It might be like a Coltrane song, you know, if you've had a bit of a hectic day. But it could also be, you know, really calm, whatever it is, this beautiful, harmonious music. So you dedicate like that. You feel that, how all of the different elements of your life come together harmoniously for this aspirational prayer. So you feel it resonating in your body, like you become a tuning fork. So there's many ways that we can gather up what's happened and then dedicate it as an experience, and that makes it really strong. So folks, that's what we're going to do. So we can we'll do our little dedication. We've got a moment. If you have any questions or comments about this, about dedicating or aspirational prayer, anything at all. Barbara, you usually have something. What do you have for me today?
I'm sitting here thinking that you and I could do the tale of two accordions. Because
Oh, really?
my parents, when I was a teenager, they bought me an accordion and they wanted me to play it, and they got me lessons, and you know, I found the whole experience humiliating. I hated holding this accordion, and the instructor, you know, he was very kind, and he told my parents wanted to know my progress, and he said she's good enough that she could probably play at weddings one day. And I was like, please no, you know. So anywhere we would see somebody playing an accordion, my parents would be like, that could be you. And I wanted to like disappear. And given that my accordion has ended up exactly like yours, unplayed, but you had a wonderful like experience. You loved it. You like, it was such a positive thing. And had I put any of these things, had I known of any of these things, had I had the right kind of like attitude, or, you know, looking at happiness and just things like that, I probably would have my accordion would sit there on the shelf cherished instead of in like deep in storage despise.
Yeah, so
So,
that's how amazing.
yeah.
And Barbara, so I'm just thinking as you're saying that, like, what I wished I had have heard ages and ages ago was to just to play to your strengths.
Yeah.
So I could spend a lot of time on the accordion, and it could have been nice, but what I've actually spent a lot of time on is something else, which is crochet. And that I have been able to visualize the result, and I do enjoy the whole process, and so none of it's traumatic for me. So kind of in that is we do have natural affinities towards some things. So whatever you have a natural affinity to, at the very least, nourish that and make that something with thought transformation that enhances your inner journey. And if you're not into the accordion and like with me, it didn't get there for whatever reasons, what we can do is every time we hear the accordion, rejoice that at least somebody else is playing it wonderfully. At least somebody else has this, amazing gypsy music, or somebody else is just, having the accompanying tune to all the bizarre wedding dancing that there is in the world, and that way it doesn't have to be us that does it. Somebody else has done it, and we can really feel happy for them.
Yeah, I think what it was for everybody around me, the accordion represented performance. And I don't like that idea. But had I just gone into a room and played it, like had I had some insight and understood what my own aspirations for this instrument was, it probably would have been a completely different story. So yeah, I think that what you're saying is exactly true. But it was a traumatic experience because I did not want to perform at weddings. Please no.
Yeah, that's right. So who knows, you might end up dabbling in a whole new way. So this is the thing that I found with crochet that's so very beneficial, is that it is a little microcosm of how I learn, and I get really automatic feedback from it. So you get to the crochet, you look back and you go, oh, I've made a mistake. And it's been really interesting to go how I react to having made a mistake. And with crochet, you just undo it and redo it. It's really simple. And so it's got me used to making a mistake, being able to recognize it, not beating myself up about it, just undoing it, and then coming back and doing it again, really in a very relaxed way. And it's such good practice. So some of these things, if you take the whole process of it and then you transfer it over to your meditation practice, your interactions with others, you've got one thing where it's really successful, and then you transfer it over to the main thing of life. So you might be able to have accordion, might be it, or it might be something else where you dabble in it and you get this wonderful feedback where you allow yourself to make mistakes, to experiment, to have some fun, to make an offering to others, rather than performative pressure, all of those things. So whatever it is, some people have it with cooking. Usually it's with hobbies because there's no pressure with hobbies. So Barbara, I knew you'd come up with an absolute gem today, and that little gem's going into my heart too. So let's dedicate. And the last thing to say really about prayer then is that prayer isn't in the worldly sense of I want this and I want that, and like please Buddha, or please God, or please Tara, give me this, give me that, solve this, solve that. Actually, prayer is about giving. Prayer is I'm going to dedicate myself to others. Prayer is I need to be able, I want to help others, and I need help in this. It's about giving. It's about offering. And even when we dedicate, what we're doing, it's not holding it for ourselves. It's offering all of our merits for the benefit of others. And I found that's an amazing distinction. Rather than here's my shopping list, Buddha, it's my prayer is this is how I'm going to give myself to others. It's so nice. So let's dedicate, shall we? So let's dedicate in a very practical way, that may we have realizations of everything that we've discussed in these 8 weeks. May we have the realizations all the way to full enlightenment. Everyone that we've mentioned, all the stories, at the very, very least, may all those people be released from their suffering and their illnesses and attain happiness. So, directly by mentioning. May we be the change makers, as they say in the world, be really useful to sentient beings. May we support our Dharma centers, because our Dharma centers are our ticket out of here, folks, So we have to support our Dharma centers, so that way we're supporting all sentient beings. And we look after each other. And here we are on Zoom, we're connected by a network of fiber optics and satellites and whatever. So may this become like an enlightened net of light that encompasses the whole planet and that radiates out to all the beings in all the worlds. This very net of light that's actually there. So here's the dedication. Due to all the merits of the 3 times accumulated by me and by others, merely by seeing, hearing, remembering, touching, or talking to me, may any being be freed in that very second from all their sufferings, diseases, spirit harms, negative karmas, and obscurations, and abide in the peerless happiness of full enlightenment forever. So thank you, everybody. Rejoicing continuously for the rest of the day, and especially thank you, Shayla, and thank you, Tupta Nobeling, for having such a wonderful idea for this course, Be Your Own Therapist. So next week, same time, same place, different teacher. What a wonderful surprise.
No.